a very silly but a very, very important question. Had social media existed 20 years ago, do you think the earlier governments would have such an easy time?
Or a difficult time. We don't know.
Extremely difficult time.
I don't know. See, I'm a great believer that history is a country with no citizens. I can't look back in the past, and I'm not George Osborne to write a play called Look Back in Anger either.
People make an argument, she was the Muslim voice for Aam Aadmi Party, the Muslim voice for BJP. Why is it not a citizen of India who just simply changed from one to the other?
You are so right, Shweta, and that's how I see myself. I mean, it's the same Allah, same Ishwar, same God who's made all of us. So I don't know why there's such a big tamasha about this. And why should I want to be just a Muslim? I reject all of those so-called fake secular parties which keep saying minorities, 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 minorities. I'm sorry, I'm an equal. I'm a citizen of India. I will partake of everything that is required of me as an Indian citizen, and I will claim all the rights as an equal, not as a minority.
It is very important that people understand that a lot of your stance is your personal, doesn't need to be left, doesn't need to be right, doesn't need to be centered. It is what you feel about a particular situation. What would you tell your audience? This is how you should be seeing news today.
You know, I don't care about what the audience thinks, frankly. A, they're not paying my bills. B, I'm not there because of them. And C, I'm not a public figure.
A lot of them are saying, which side is he on? But
I don't have to be on a side. That is the stupidity. That's why I told you 99% of the people are dumb. Because why should I be on a side? I have to be on the side of an issue, not on the side of an ideology.
I'm not talking about the government and the opposition and all. In general, people who are really, for the lack of a better term, not very well informed or not very clear thinkers call you not a good Muslim.
Oh, I get that a lot, Shweta.
Why?
And that really hurts me because my faith and my religion and my ibadat and my self-expression is my own. I don't want any middlemen between my Allah, my creator and
no translation in the middle.
No translators. And if I think like this, and who's given me this brain? So where does that come from? And the power to think and the need to think and inquire, that has also come from Allah. So if you take that away from me, you are disrespecting Allah's creation.
Take into account what George W. Bush, 42, means the son, who presided over 9/11 and the aftermath, when asked that there were no weapons of mass destruction, his response was, as president, I had to act on the information that was made available to me. My actions were based out of integrity. That action may have been a mistake, but the integrity was unwavering. So you and I can make mistakes, but are we making mistakes in a manipulative manner or through misinformation? Misinformation is fine, but manipulation is not.
The wokeism that you're seeing, I mean, it's just utter nonsense.
Wokeism is so something, I think it's a plague.
It's a plague, it's nonsense. It's like, you know, it's so
overweight people are now calorie positive.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, because I'm not tall, so I was happy being called vertically challenged. That was okay. And I'm okay to call the whites melanin deficient.
Well, yeah.
But going beyond that and identifying yourself as a cat. You know, there's a joke about that an employee was always missing and he was always up to no good and the boss was always angry. And he said, where the hell are you? Why don't you ever show up? He said, I'm identifying myself as invisible. So he doesn't show up.
Oh my God! If point of view, POV, how has the mind of Muslim women, young Muslim women, changed versus their mothers?
I think there's far more exposure, newer role models, and the Muslim girl today is thinking. And she's realizing that the country, the constitution has her back. So she's beginning to ask questions and explore new territory.
It's a personal moment, and I just remembered when you were telling me, and I asked you, Shazia, have you ever thought of a full-fledged political career of yours versus somebody who's impacting through her voice? And I remember seeing, and this is you poignantly saying, Shweta, I don't need that because I first want to be me, and I may not be me when I become a full-fledged political career. Have you shifted on your thoughts from then?
No, I think politics is just a vehicle for me, just like television career was, just like activism was. all of these are various vehicles which are taking me forward, carrying me from one place to the other in my journey. That's all.
Now, I think after especially the US elections, it's like the extreme woke has actually defaming the actual true liberals, which is not the worst thing in the world. But now it has become almost like, oh, you're a liberal, or oh, you're a fascist.
So I think all these isms and all this terminology,
Exactly.
it's all a matter of semantics. It is such nonsense, liberal, conservative. I mean, I was proud to be a liberal-minded person. In fact, the liberals have a problem with me because I'm too much of a liberal Muslim. See, I think this compromise was made many years ago.
By who?
Well, starting from Nehru, and the entire club of and cabal and coterie of academia, media, and what was cool. They were Western values. They were not Indian values. So anybody who was educated and spoke English had to be a certain way to appear cool and acceptable.
Absolutely.
So if you're if you were somebody who did your puja part, or in Jamia, I remember the cool people. I remember during Ramzan I kept roza and they made fun of me. Oh, ghum phir kar tum aisi ho. So they don't have respect for religion. They're atheists, most of them. But in India, because they're fighting BJP and they're called BJP fascists, they are okay when somebody's talking about burqa and fighting that. They have a big problem with that. But they love to make fun and mock at all the Hindu festivals and customs and any talk of Sanatan Dharma.
I'll give you a shocking example. When I went to IIT to hire people, I said, you are the premier institute of technology. Surely you must be having patents. He said, what is patents?
No.
They said, what is patents? I said, what do you do when you develop a technology? They said, we publish. I said, what happens when you publish? Oh, we get credits, and I am as a professor will get credits. That same thing in universities in the United States, they have a collaboration with the students. If they work on technologies, they will mine it, they'll catch it, they'll protect it, they'll patent it. Thousands of patents will go wasted, but one will get a hit and they'll make millions of dollars on it.
Vrinda, it becomes extremely daunting for a
It is.
student. Let's say I'm trying to prepare for my MBA, 150 ads out there, misleading, not misleading. For the normal person who will be unable to pull off those kind of fees and are relying solely on the kind of ads which are out there, can we take them to court?
You can absolutely take anybody to the court who's given you false assurances, provided you have the right evidence. Everything has to be nailed.
Implicit.
Yes. The law is very clear on it.
That
And
also means I might have to record the conversation.
loud as people are, but then I think anything that is promised is at least taken on an email. Least to say.
Okay.
Least to say. All the transactions need to happen over there or through at least a WhatsApp, something in written.
What do you think happened, and you think India's coming of age or trying to catch up?
It's saddened me to see that how foreign companies treat intellectual property and how we in India treat intellectual property. We are the largest creators of intellectual property in the world.
Why do you say that?
If you see, we have the largest film industry in the world. We have one of the most robust music industries in the world. Almost, on a very conservative estimate, pharmaceutical patents, 30% of the patentees would be Indians origin.
So Vrinda, this whole gamut of consumer law, which was pretty new to me, and when I sat with you, I thought we must get it to the audience. Is it really effective, or is it more like utopia?
So consumer law, Shweta, it is very effective. And see, I'll tell you why. This is a branch, these kind of tribunals, like consumer, or you have other tribunals which are like that, are specifically formed for this purpose. It is like where a consumer can go and talk and actually put up the grievance out there. And you don't have to go through the whole hustle of approaching the bigger courts and those time consuming and very, very overwhelming processes. So it's very impactful. Now the newer law, like I said, it's all time bound. You have 6 months to 1 year to decide the complaint. Everything is in limitation.
So I've taken the steps, then what else does a YouTuber like me do besides what I did on my options? Now what?
Well, if you enforce your copyrights and you take it, so if somebody takes this content and puts it on their channel, you have a right to sue them. Unfortunately, we don't have a system where you can get a lot of damages. In the US, you drive that man under the bridge because you will sue him for so much money, and if you succeed, so he will settle because they know there's an efficient legal system. We don't have such an efficient legal system.
How does fair use apply in the Indian digital space, especially when it comes to reaction videos, if I'm doing my content?
All copyright law is protectable with no charge. The moment you create, you have copyright in it.
Okay.
Now there are 6 basic forms of copyright. Your usual literary work, artistic work, musical work, dramatic work. Then there are sound recordings and films. The moment you create them, we are members of the Universal Copyright Convention and the Berne Convention. All Indian works are liable to be protected globally to all signatory countries with no further requirements of registration. So you create and there is copyright. That will answer I'm anticipating a question, what is protected? Everything that's creative is protected globally.
Now I'll tell you, I was doing a rape and murder case, and where I had e-mulaqat with the convict who was imprisoned in Madhya Pradesh prison. He was sentenced to death, he's waiting to be hanged. So I was doing his case, so I had e-mulaqat with him. Now before I saw his face, I was doing my job. It didn't bother me at all. But when I had the e-mulaqat with him, that whole night I could not sleep. I just kept wondering that, what if? So social conscience is something very relative. So they were convicts. They had undergone their sentence, which was awarded to them by the court.
And there was an absolute uproar without people understanding exactly why it panned out the way it did, because it was simply following a rule.
It's very difficult to sort of define that, what something may shake your conscience, may not shake mine. The courts have made this observation that, sometimes for lack of evidence, you have to let go of the person who's accused of the offense. It may cause a lot of pain in the society and greater pain to the victim's family.